Hello everyone, this is LimAK here, and I'm playing a little bit of Strike Suit Infinity. This is a space combat game from Born Ready Games, and is kind of a follow-up to their previous game, Strike Suit Zero, that was released back in January. While that game was more of a sort of like story-based campaign, this is just a pure straight-up survival. So you have a series of rounds that enemies spawn, and then you just progress through, and as you can see, here is leaderboards, and pretty much you're trying to do as well as you possibly can. So let's just go to one of the early ones to start with. And so you can choose between one of 3 different ships: the strike suit from the original game, the Raptor, which was released as part of a DLC pack for the original, I think, and the Marauder, which is new. I'm just going to use the strike suit for the moment. I'll see if I have time to go to one of the other ships. So at the start of each round, you, well, in addition to other things, you get that cutscene, and you get to, see what's coming, and it'll give you some hints as you go through, just to sort of introduce you to what ships are going to be facing. And here is a cool thing where you get to pick what allies you bring. Just for the sake of this, I'm going to bring a whole bunch of fighters. But you can see, okay, I'm going to be mostly against enemy interceptors fighters. Maybe 1 or 2 corvettes, and probably the frigate is going to be the final thing. So I don't really need any support to do that, so just stick with fighters as my allies. And you have a loadout to choose from. This is pretty much the same as it was in the original. I think there are some new weapons. I don't remember the railgun being as part of the original, but let's put that on. I'm not a huge fan of missiles, never really have been. But this is pretty early on, so it's not going to be too difficult. So one of my biggest problems with the original Strike Zero is that it had kind of bad missions. And that's not to say that all of them were bad or that most of them were bad, but there were enough really terrible missions that it just drag down the rest. So these are fire and forget missiles. I'm just going to fire a whole bunch of them, and they're going to go kill for me. My primary weapon is my plasma gun, which is on 1, and I can sort of switch between that by pressing the 1 key, or at least that's what I've bound it to. But you have 2 different primary weapons, one of which is my plasma, the other is my rail, and then I have 2 different missiles, one of which is that fire and forget missile, the other is rockets. That's how I've done my loadout. And the railgun is just a aim and kill. But you can see I'm pretty much using up half my energy bar per shot, so here's hoping I don't miss. And it doesn't quite kill enemy fighters, so probably be using this plasma gun at shorter range. But as I've been killing enemies, I've been getting flux, and with flux I can change into strike suit mode, which is a mech, and can lock on to multiple different targets and fire swarm missiles and kill them all very, very quickly. Should probably destroy this corvette. And like I said, this is a wave-based survival, and it's also a score game, so really I want to be getting as much kills as possible while also trying to get a high multiplier. You get that by sort of comboing ships together and also, killing them quickly. So come in here and go quickly in strike mode. I can take care of all those fighters. And I'm just going to boost above here. So you can see this frigate has a whole bunch of red targets and then a whole bunch of white targets. Each one of the red ones is one of the turrets, which I sort of can pretty easily handle in strike suit mode. And then these white zones are weak points that actually damage it. So you can see as I take out each of these weak points, its health, which you can see in the bottom left with my target objective. Actually, goes down. And, you know, I could just fire at it normally, but you do so little damage, it's not really worth wasting your rockets for it. It's just easier to boost around as the strike suit and just absolutely lay waste to it using whatever you've got. So now that it's heavily damaged, it's trying to escape. It's in my best interest to destroy it because I get bonus credits for actually destroying it as so. That was one of the early waves, and you can see I've got a whole bunch of fighters still remaining, and I get a whole bunch of bonus credits for letting my allies live. Ally survivor credits, plus 3,000. And now that round is over. It'll give me a summary of how well I did. S rank. I have no idea how I destroyed it so quickly before, but... So shuttles are sometimes appear in the rounds and you get bonus money for killing them. Sometimes you see enemy freighters, and that's how you unlock stuff. So these are all the upgrades that you get throughout playing the game, and part of what makes me think this fails as a score attack game is that the first time you play it, you don't have any of these. And that means regardless of how good you are as a pilot, you're just not going to be doing as well as someone who has unlocked all of these. And these are all just straight bonuses. You don't like select or choose between them. It's just, hey, your ship is more powerful. And that just... As a score attack game, I think it should be purely about skill, or maybe there's some way that this could have been incorporated into the wave structure a bit more to encourage it. But, I don't know. It just doesn't sit too well with me with the idea of it being a score attack game. But like once you have all these, then you can start getting as high scores as you like. So I'm not actually going to fight this wave because I can show you one of the later waves, which is going to be a little bit more crazy. Whatever. So let's back out to the main menu for a moment. And you know, when you die, that's the end and you get ranked. I didn't even get any medal for that because frankly, why should I? Because it's not actually that difficult. Let's go to... There are some maps which have different environmental effects, like nebulas, which means you can't fire like lock-on missiles, so it's all about just aiming and shooting. So pretty much you don't bring missiles a lot. Like the whole homing missile thing that I used earlier in strike suit mode, that doesn't work, so it makes that strike suit kind of worse because its primary weapon isn't nearly as powerful as those seeking missiles. But let's pick up something nice and fiery. And let's do the Marauder. This is a much slower, much tankier ship, but also is equipped with a very large cannon, which I quite enjoy. Oh, you can see against lots and lots of fighters, corvette, frigates, cruisers. So it's recommending I bring some cruisers and frigates of my own. But I only have 30,000 credits, and these sort of carry on between each wave. So if I don't spend these credits, I'll have them on the next wave, assuming I survive. So there's definitely a strategy to how you pick these units, because if these guys die during this wave, I don't get any of this money back. If they survive, I only get a fraction of the money I spent on it back. So it's definitely in my best interest to not spend all of it. But since I'm just doing this in video form, let's get a whole bunch of fighters, a couple of frigates, and that should do me. Also, it's quite bad at sort of telling you what each of these upgrades do. Like the upgrades I was showing you earlier, you don't really know what those do. It says, here's a shield upgrade at level 3. And, okay, that's cool. How much extra shield does it give me exactly? But you can sort of infer that it's a good thing. And I'm just going to bring rockets because, quite frankly, I don't need help dealing with fighters. Yeah, the original combat in Strike Zero was always incredibly good. It was just held back by that mission design. And, oh look, enemy corvettes. So, these torpedoes are going to try and kill my capital ships. So, let's take those out. And let's strike mode. I'm at range 2000 here. I can just snipe this corvette from a mile away. And then get back to dealing with these fighters. I don't really want to be in strike mode to deal with these fighters. I can deal with them in this mode. I mean, sure, my multiplier is still at 1. I could probably combo these guys all pretty easily. But it's probably more important for me to build up flux to deal with some of the harder waves that are coming. The ship is also a great deal slower than the strike suit, which means that these guys can pretty easily outpace me, but I've got quite a lot of allies around, so that's not too big a deal.
Wave incoming.
So I can also change my target priority to the torpedoes.
Port has folded in.
So I can... Probably shouldn't be using my machine guns to deal with this, because it's kind of a waste of ammunition. Let's quickly deal with these guys. Okay, I'm hitting the turret of that corvette, but you can see I've got a bonus objective, so I'm just going to press T and cycle through until I get the transport. Then I can hit F and select the freighter. Now, I don't really like that system of target selection very much, mostly because, you know, when you're in the middle of a fight and you're, say, being chased by, like, mines or just surrounded by fighters. So, you can see, I don't really have much awareness of what's around me other than, you know, seeing streaks in the sky. I have no idea how much stuff is going on behind my ship at any given time, which occasionally leads to weird positions of you just walking into something and dying for what appears to be no apparent reason, but in actual fact what you've just done is sort of zoom into an entire enemy fleet of fighters without knowing about it. And again, swapping between target priority mid-battle when, you know, maybe you're being chased by mines as well as enemy fighters, it's of little comfort to you when it just doesn't target what you really want to be targeting. But yeah, I think this game is quite a lot better than Strike Zero because it focuses on nothing but the combat, and it's still real good. So that's a heavy fighter. I'm just going to snipe it like that. Interceptor.
Wave incoming.
So I took way too long there, and the next wave has come even before I've destroyed it. Single little frigate, not a big deal. My own frigates will pretty handily take care of it. So we've pretty much taken this out for already. Oh, I accidentally hit the cockpit mode. Well, I'm going to end this video in cockpit mode. They added it in, I think they added it in a patch, but for the original tracksuit. But this isn't really very useful. I mean, it looks kind of neat, but it's not really. something you really want to be piloting as. 'Cause you don't get a lot of awareness, which I already said is something that's quite hard to do. Yeah, I think this game is pretty cool. And it's like $7 or £5. And yeah, there's lots of really good action. I mean, there's no story at all holding it together like the original. But if you are looking for a game to blow things up in space, this is a pretty good game to do that in. So anyway, this is MK. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.